Solomon Shereshevsky, often known simply as S, was a journalist. He lived in Russia in the 1920s. To most people, he appeared quite ordinary. He went about his daily work like anyone else. But S carried a remarkable secret within his mind. This secret was not about hidden knowledge or a dramatic past. Instead, it was about the very nature of his memory. His memory was not just good, it was profoundly, almost unbelievably, perfect. For many years, this extraordinary ability remained unnoticed by those around him. He navigated his world, his unique mind quietly observing and recording everything. The discovery of SS' unusual memory happened almost by accident. He was working at a newspaper office. Each morning, the editor would give out assignments and instructions for the day. S attended these meetings, but he never seemed to take any notes. All the other reporters diligently wrote down names, addresses, and tasks. The editor eventually noticed S.'s peculiar habit. He found it strange that S did not write. One day, the editor questioned him. He asked why S never jotted down the details. S seemed surprised by the question itself. He simply replied that he remembered everything perfectly and saw no need for notes. The editor was skeptical, as anyone might be. He decided to test S on the spot. He asked S to repeat the instructions he had just given. What followed left the editor, and soon others in the office, completely astonished. S recited everything flawlessly. He remembered every single detail, every specific address, every name mentioned. He recalled the information as if he were reading it from a page. The editor could hardly believe what he was hearing. The other journalists were equally amazed. They had never encountered such a powerful memory before. It became clear that S possessed a very special kind of mind, a mind that seemed to retain everything it ever encountered. News of this man with the incredible memory soon reached a prominent Russian neuropsychologist. His name was Alexander Luria. Dr. Luria was deeply interested in the workings of the human brain, particularly in cases of unusual mental abilities. He was fascinated by the reports about S. He sought S out, eager to study his memory in detail. This marked the beginning of a long and detailed scientific investigation. Luria would work closely with S for nearly 30 years. He aimed to understand the mechanisms behind such an extraordinary memory. He also wanted to explore how this unique ability affected SS' everyday life, his thoughts, and his experience of the world. Solomon Shereshevsky's condition is often discussed today in relation to hyperthymesia. Hyperthymesia is an extremely rare neurological condition. It is characterized by a highly superior autobiographical memory. This means individuals with hyperthymesia can recall an immense number of personal experiences from their past. They remember these events with vivid and precise detail. It is not just remembering facts, it is like replaying a film of their own life. They can often tell you what they were doing, who they were with, and even what the weather was like on a specific date many years ago. For S, his mind was a constant flowing stream of such detailed recollections. Hyperthymesia is sometimes referred to as highly superior autobiographical memory, or HSAM. This name emphasizes its focus on personal lived experiences. People with this ability do not necessarily have a better memory for all types of information like academic facts, unless those facts are tied to a personal event. Their strength lies in recalling the days of their lives. They can often pinpoint the day of the week for any given date in their past. They remember seemingly insignificant details that most people would quickly forget. S experienced this constant reliving of moments, making his past feel as immediate and real as his present. His personal history was always accessible. It is important to understand that S memory was different from memory techniques. Some individuals train themselves to remember vast amounts of information. They use methods called mnemonics, which involve creating associations or patterns. These people practice extensively to achieve their memory feats. For S, however, remembering was not a conscious effort. It was an automatic process. Information simply entered his mind and stayed there, perfectly preserved. He did not have to try to memorize things. His brain seemed to function like a perfect recording device, always active, always capturing every detail, and seemingly without any limit to its storage capacity. During the time Alexander Luria was studying S, the term hyperthymesia was not in common use. Such extraordinary memory conditions were not well understood by the scientific community. Researchers were only just beginning to delve into the vast complexities of human memory and its variations. S.'s case was exceptionally unusual, and provided a unique opportunity. It offered a rare window into how memory could function in such an extreme and remarkable way. Luria's meticulous studies of S were groundbreaking. They helped to demonstrate to the world that such astonishing mental capacities could indeed exist, even if they were incredibly rare phenomena. Solomon Shereshevsky was capable of performing truly astonishing feats of memory. Dr. Luria tested him extensively with various kinds of information. S could memorize long lists of random numbers or disconnected words with remarkable ease. He could then recall these lists perfectly, not only in the order they were given but also in reverse order. This was not a struggle for him, it was almost instantaneous. What was even more incredible was his ability to retain this information over very long periods. If Luria presented him with a list, S would commit it to memory. Years later, sometimes even 15 or 20 years later, S could still recite the list as accurately as if he had just learned it. A very significant aspect of SS' powerful memory was his profound synesthesia. Synesthesia is a fascinating neurological phenomenon where the stimulation of one sensory pathway leads to automatic involuntary experiences in a second sensory pathway. For S, this meant that his senses were intricately blended. Words, numbers, and sounds would evoke vivid images, colors, tastes, or tactile sensations. For instance, a particular number might feel rough or smooth to him. A person's voice might appear as a crumbly yellow. This rich tapestry of sensory experiences created multiple anchors for each memory, making it incredibly robust and detailed. Luria often challenged S with highly complex material. He might present S with a lengthy and intricate mathematical formula. On other occasions, he would recite a passage from a poem, perhaps even in a foreign language that S did not understand, such as Italian. S could memorize these items perfectly after just one hearing or reading. He did not always comprehend the meaning of what he was memorizing, especially with unfamiliar languages or abstract equations. However, his mind would capture the exact sequence of sounds, the rhythm, the intonations, and the visual form of the symbols, creating a flawless mental duplicate of the original information. His recall of conversations was equally extraordinary and complete. When S remembered a conversation, he did not just recall the words that were spoken. He also remembered the precise tone of voice used by each speaker. He could recall their facial expressions, their gestures, and the clothes they were wearing. He remembered the environment, the room they were in, the furniture, the lighting, and even incidental sounds in the background like a clock ticking or traffic outside. It was as if he could replay the entire scene in his mind's eye and ear, with every detail preserved, clear, and readily accessible whenever he chose to revisit that particular moment in his past. Despite the seemingly miraculous nature of his memory, living with such an ability was not always a positive experience for Solomon Shereshevsky. In many ways, his perfect recall became a significant burden. One of the greatest challenges he faced was an inability to forget. Most people's minds naturally filter out irrelevant information, allowing important details to stand out. SS' mind, however, retained everything. It became cluttered with an overwhelming accumulation of trivial details from his daily life. He remembered every face he passed on the street, every casual remark, every minor event. This constant influx of perfect recall made it difficult for him to sort the significant from the insignificant. His profound synesthesia, while aiding memory, could also be intensely overwhelming in everyday situations. Simple, ordinary experiences could transform into a complex and sometimes chaotic flood of sensory information. For example, going to a market or a restaurant could be an ordeal. The cacophony of different voices, the myriad smells, the vibrant colors, each stimulus would trigger a cascade of associated sensations. A particular word spoken by someone might instantly evoke a strong taste or a vivid visual pattern. This made navigating daily life incredibly intense for S, and at times deeply confusing and disorienting. He was constantly bombarded by these cross-sensory perceptions. Furthermore, S encountered significant difficulties when dealing with abstract concepts or figurative language. His mind excelled at capturing and retaining concrete sensory details. He tended to perceive words as direct representations of images or sensations. This very literal interpretation made it challenging for him to understand ideas that were not directly tied to a tangible experience. Metaphors, allegories, or nuanced poetry could be perplexing. He would often get caught up in the literal images evoked by the individual words, struggling to grasp the intended deeper non-literal meaning. His world was one of specific, concrete memories rather than generalized ideas or theories. Solomon Shereshevsky's incredible memory was undeniably a remarkable gift, showcasing the astonishing potential of the human brain. However, it also presented him with profound and unique challenges. making his life very different and often quite difficult. He struggled to read subtle facial expressions because his mind registered too many fleeting micro-expressions simultaneously. He even had to develop conscious techniques to try and erase or blot out unwanted memories. SS' life story compels us to reflect on the nature of memory itself. It makes us consider that perhaps the ability to forget, to filter, and to generalize is also a crucial aspect of being human, allowing us to navigate the present and look to the future. Please like, share, and subscribe.